Okay, so we'll have a few slides to go through. I'll probably zip through a few of them. If you want to ask questions anytime, just shout out. So we'll talk about me. We'll talk about how I discovered Meteor. Maybe it'll be a familiar story to some of you. Then I'll go over quickly just how I created the back end, the front end, and deployed it. And then we'll talk about something that maybe not a lot of Meteor presentations talk about, which is alternative front ends. So not everyone wants to use Meteor as a front end. There may be good reasons for that. And just a few conclusions and what ifs. So, discovering Meteor. Well, first of all, about me. I'm a career sysadmin. I studied software development, took a job as a sysadmin thinking, oh, I'll wait and I'll find a nice dev job to get into 20 years later. I'm getting back into software development. So I decided a while ago I'm going to build apps for people. Everyone wants to build an app and be famous and rich. So I thought, oh, I play cricket, I'll do something for my cricket club. So how I went about that, the old way, doing it the old way. A LAMP backend, everyone probably is familiar with that. A bit of Linux, Apache, nice bit of MySQL, it's very sturdy. I know some people prefer Postgres. Where is it? Is that it? And PHP. Great object-oriented programming language, much better than Perl. I don't know if there's any fans of Perl anywhere here. If you are, probably time to get out now. So that was the back end. As it says there, the PHP I used to create the API because I only really want data out of the database. I'm not pumping anything back into it. I'm not creating a front end. So I needed a front end which was cross-platform. I'm not sure how many people here are familiar with Sencha Touch. Has anyone, probably EXJS, EXTJS, maybe no? Well, it's a fairly useful JavaScript cross-platform front end, and it basically runs on PhoneGap and Cordova. It's quite good. I wouldn't call it my favorite anymore. So that was my first app. Second app, I didn't put the name here. This is called Urbanspoon. It's a toilet finding app. Anyone's ever, if you've ever been in a hurry, I know everyone knows Urbanspoon for finding restaurants. Well, when you're done with that, that's what you need. So, a slightly better way. Still LAMP, in the sense that I'm running Linux and Apache, but I'm running Mongo, little m, and still a PHP backend. This is the evolution of me as I'm discovering Meteor. I'm thinking, oh, this Mongo stuff's pretty exciting. The reason why I actually ended up in Mongo was because the geospatial indexing for it, for just doing really simple stuff like this, is just, it kicks butt over using something like a structured database. So documents with a nice little index, easy to find data. There's not a lot going in again, but it's, it holds about 20,000 locations in it, and interfacing it, it's pretty good. Again, Sencha Touch is the front end architecture. I'm actually working on a new version, which is Angular, and because everyone's doing Angular, so I guess I have to do it. So then I thought, I'm reading about Mongo, and looking up documents, you think, what's this node, and there's something called Meteor and stuff. So I had a look at it, and eventually, hurrah, I thought, that doesn't look very good, but I thought, reactive data, that's exciting. What can I get? I thought, a map, some sort of map. So if we look at the initial concept, I thought, I want to do something really cool, but I need to find some live data and make it do cool stuff. I was actually working on another project with a partner of mine who's it's just a crisis management thing, and part of that was natural disasters. And anyway, I came across the earthquake, US government earthquake site, and there's a whole lot of. I'll put all the links in when I put up the GitHub repository. I'll put all the links into there, but basically you can get live data of earthquake activity worldwide. Let's do something with that. So it's free. So I had other ideas. Things like airplane trackers, that sort of stuff. That'd be really cool, but it seems you've got to pay for all this data. So this was free and easy to access. And apparently it looks cool on a map. Okay, the back end, very simple. Meteor create quakes, and you've got your basic structure. You've got then you think, oh, okay, then I'll read a few documents. It says, you've got to create a server folder, create a client folder. So I've done all of that. Before I show you some of the code, the back end is basically there's a data source, which is GeoJSON, and I pump it into a collection. That's it. That's the back end. Okay. There's a bit more to it in terms of then I have to get it out, but we'll get to that. So if I go to, hopefully we can see some of this. Yes, we can. Can I make this bigger? No, thanks, Aptana. Oh. Right. So what do? We got some node fibers. We create a collection called quakes. Then we've got to create a function to go and get it, which is a server function called update data, because it's data and we want to update it, so that makes sense. Bit of JavaScript, do a set interval. Hang on. This is the initial call. Sorry, this is the set interval which runs every minute. So what do? We call update data every minute. If there's an error, say there's an error. Otherwise, we spit out some results, which I will show you some. That's all it is. It's updating some data. Meaningless, but that's just some IDs of some documents going in. So we need some methods. We've got some helpers here. Update data, what does it do? It goes to a link. So earthquake.usgs.gov, fairly simple, self-explanatory link there. It gets a summary of all of the activity in the last hour. Then all it does is it waits for a result. If it's all good, our content is updated. So we've got a quake collection. First we find what's in there, and then if the record exists, we update it. If it doesn't, we'll create a new one. There's a few other helpers here for finding. I don't actually use these at the moment, but essentially is to look up individual data. And just for your information, that's just a dump of some of the return data, but it's all very uninteresting. So let's go back to here. The front end. Everyone likes Google Maps, so I use Leaflet. Why not? Leaflet mapped, OpenStreetMaps, you get lots of already pre-styled type tiles and stuff, and it's easy to change it. Then you thought, I need a nice cool crosshair on there for the latitude and longitude because it looks really cool. And of course you need markers, because if you're going to map something, you need to mark where they are. That's fairly obvious. So this is essentially the front end code. we find our div, the ID for the map. You know, basically just finding the window size there. Set up a few variables. Then we set up our tile leaflet map here. It's just a few variables here to set where we're centering the map, zoom, and whether we want touch zoom or not. So if you're using on a touch-enabled device, you can pinch to zoom. Okay, and then we've got a tile layer. So there's multitudes of tile layers where you can get really cool looking things like cloud cover, all other sort of information, as well as your terrain. So there's a crosshairs library, so that does the really cool crosshairy stuff, which I'll show you in a sec. We add the crosshairs to the map. We set up a few functions for adding and removing markers, and we have a draw markers function to actually call it that. So that iterates through an array of markers, and another cool function, just some cool stuff, some sunlight. You might have a map. Well, you might also need to know where it's day and night for whatever reason. That it just looks cool, so I did. A few more functions there, and then we've got the map template. So all it really does is when it's ready, when it's created, it draws the markers, and we set up here our subscription. We're just observing the crates collection. And we say, well, if something's added, we create a new marker, scale point, then we add the marker to the map. If it's changed, we make the necessary changes to the marker. I've not actually tested that if it really works or not, because the nature of the crate data is it goes in and it comes out. It rarely changes. So. And then if it's removed, we have a function to remove it from the map, and that's really the real engine of the front end. So we have some cool functions here. Just one for the scale point to create the circle and how big you want it and all of that. You can go nuts with that sort of stuff, drawing SVG, circles, squares, lines, GeoJSON, polygons, whatever you want. So the scope there is endless. When our map is rendered, this function takes care of where we're initial point of the map, and also there's a set interval there to actually update the sun, daylight part of the map and the markers. So, okay, now if we actually have a look, I'll start with a refresh, just so we can see it loading. As you see, there's no real fancy stuff to it, spinners or anything like that. The brightness makes it a bit hard to see, but so we go on here, we can click on a icon and we can say, oh yeah, there's that quake, there's that quake. Then we can zoom in all we want, click on there, and the crosshairs look really cool, and the latitude and longitude update as you go along, and if you click, it'll tell you the exact latitude and longitude where you click. Doesn't really serve any purpose, it just looks really cool. So that's basically it. We can sit here and say, oh yeah, that's sort of cool. Look at this and wait a minute in silence and say, oh, where's the data? And you know, it may never update. So what we can do is, say we don't want to have daily data. We want, sorry, hourly data. We might want daily data. So we go and just change that little call by Control AA. It says, oh, look at that. We're starting. Downloaded a whole lot more, and if you're really quick, give it a sec, bang, there you go, reactive map. So that's a day's worth of data rather than, you know, one 1 hour. So it looks pretty dramatic. I've been watching this thing for months now, and it's pretty normal. Okay, usually, you know, Australia and Africa are pretty quiet. Sometimes you get some stuff in Europe, but yeah, I wouldn't move to California, Hawaii, Alaska, or Papua New Guinea or New Zealand. So just, unless you like that, I don't know, maybe that's your sort of thing. So it's as simple as that. So we can change that back.